Thank you for joining us. Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Joining us now, our great friend, Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. Dr. Karlfeldt, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Well, it's been a while since we've had you on the radio, and you've got some big announcements. And I was listening somewhere to talk about, you talked about your humble origins here in Idaho. So I thought we would share that with folks. For people that aren't familiar with you and the Karlfeldt Center, tell us a little bit about your work, sir.
Well, I'm a naturopathic doctor. I run the Karlfeldt Center here in Meridian, Idaho. I've been here since 2001, and I had my practice in Santa Monica before that. I started in a little, we were chatting yesterday. I started in a little room, rented a room in a salon. This was right after 9/11, and everything was crashing, and I wanted to get away from big city in LA and start fresh here in Idaho. The reason I went to Idaho is that when I was 16, I'm originally from Sweden. I was born in Stockholm. When I was 16, I came here on kind of like an exchange program and stayed with a family in Burley, Idaho, of all places. So, coming to Burley was a little bit of a culture shock, being from Sweden. But I really fell in love with the people here in Idaho. Fell in love with the attitude. So that was just kind of a natural step for me to come here to Idaho, wanting to get away from big city. So that's kind of what drew me here. And just to tell a little bit about naturopathy. It's utilizing then natural agents to support the body's own healing mechanism. And because we're so used to going to a medical doctor and then you get a prescription for something that in reality then just tends to mask symptoms rather than to fix underlying functional issues. And so if we can then give the body the nutrients and nutritional support and natural substances that are harmless, then we can then promote health and support the body to function on its own instead of relying then on pharmaceutical medicine. So that's kind of what I do. And then, I'm excited. I've been able to grow, obviously, from the one little room and in a beauty salon when I came here back in 2001.
Well, that's what fascinates me about you, Dr. Karlfeldt. And for years, we've had your show on, and you may not know this, but every time we would have you taping your show, I would crank up the speakers so everybody would hear you. So you're very infamous in our building because of the topics that you would cover. And we're going to go into the media, but back to here you are, you're a young man from Sweden, you're in the big cities, you have this affinity for Idaho, you get in the back of a beauty salon, and you've grown your business through helping others. So can you tell us what inspired you in your darkest times? A lot of people open businesses. There are a lot of naturopaths, but not a lot of folks that have the success record that you do. And I've seen that personally and professionally, but I mean, not everybody this is not only a medical story, but it's a business story as well.
I think it really talks about the passion that I have for people. And I love people. And I think people are just fascinating. And I tell everyone that I have the best patients because they all become like friends, and I feel it is my duty to really educate and take care of my friends as much as I possibly can. And I feel also we were put here on Earth to really share our kind of our love and promote the people around us and make sure that the world is a better place, when we leave, and also for them on a daily basis. And so I think that kind of general drive just to be able to help more people really has allowed my business to grow organically. And as you can, as you know, with being on the radio show, with you for a number of years, and also had a TV, a couple of TV shows and doing a lot of educational events. I think education is power, because that allows people then to become self-sufficient in their own life. We don't want people to become dependent on things, and I think by supporting them naturally and by educating about tools that are around them, and this is not just what I do, but also emotionally, mentally, spiritually, things that can help them to feel more empowered and deal with stressors in their life. And many people come to me, obviously, with many different types of stressors. Frequently it relates them to their health concerns, such as, you have individuals coming with, dealing with something as severe as cancer. And then you have to look at all the different components of that individual to see what it is that's going on, and then see what you can do to support them in that process to make sure that they have a successful outcome. And then obviously, I'm not the solution for everything, but I want to see where I can help, and then also maybe direct them into, locate, where they can then get help elsewhere as well. And by doing that, coming from that attitude where you're just there to support and to help and educate, it's been fascinating that the business just grows naturally when you do that, and it's been really, really exciting to see, and it's really been fun to kind of see how the business have evolved, and then we're ready to take a huge step to move into a 17,000 square foot building so that we can offer more services to help people to find health.
Dr. Michael Karlfeldt joining us from the Karlfeldt Center. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. So again, I would find that overwhelming. Okay, I understand you're helping people, but then all of a sudden you've got to do billing and payroll. That seems so overwhelming to a lot of folks. And here you are today. So let's talk about the growth of naturopathic medicine. And by the way, you probably don't know this, but I remember watching your TV shows. You used to have Ian Johnson on. You had a ton of folks on you were on 2 or 3 TV channels, and now you're streaming online. I think it's on Tubi as well. So not to say that I was stalking you, but I noticed you early on, and I said, here's a young man who understands he's got to convey his message, and you did it through the traditional media, radio and TV, and now podcasting. But that's outside the realm of most folks in the medical community.
Yeah, I think you always have to look at, how can I get my message out the best? And you can't stay stagnant. You can't just continue doing the same thing again and again. And you have to be kind of fascinated with how other people do it and how you can incorporate that into your own business. So I remember when I recognized that I wanted to get a little bit of a broader audience, I met with a friend of mine that was that I knew he had a number of connections and in the community, and I just asked him, so I'm moving. So then I had moved on from at that time I was not in a beauty salon anymore, and I had moved to a downtown office. Where it was, in essence, just a waiting room and then the room where I saw my patients. And I had one person sitting up front, just kind of checking people in and answering phones and doing all those things. And so I was asking him and see, so what can I do to get my message out? And he thought, well, you should get a TV show. And I thought, yeah, why not? And so it's being able to say that, be in that yes mode and driving and looking for opportunities and being intrigued with those opportunities. I think that is the key, so to say, and kind of seeing what works and what doesn't work. And obviously I've done a lot of things that has not worked, but I think if you just keep on trying, there's going to be a certain percentage of things that do work, the TV shows, a radio show with you. I mean, I had a great time, getting to speak to leaders in the world, on local radio, And now, we're hosting a huge summit actually next week that's going to air live for free, where I get to do the same, talk to them, talk to leaders in the world in regards to regenerative medicine. So it's just continually pushing yourself and not being stuck in your own business mode. And I think that is what makes also the business exciting, because it's different the whole time. And obviously it can be overwhelming at times, because you're having your mind in so many different directions, just to kind of give people a feel of what I'm doing. So I'm seeing probably about 20 to 30 patients a day, just me personally. And then obviously I run a business at the same time. So I'm the owner and I probably have a staff of 20 to 30 people, that includes, a number of practitioners. And I have 2 podcasts. I got the TV show, and then I've been doing this, preparing for this summit for the last 5 to 6 months.
Sure.
And then also at the same time, I'm writing a book that's going to be coming out then at, probably late spring probably is when it will come out. So it's a lot of things going on at the same time. And, I'm a stepfather of 4 children. So you get family life at the same time. And out there on the tennis court playing tennis, a number of times a week.
You're right. And we're going to, I'm glad your life is working out great for you, Dr. Karlfeldt. But it took a lot of hard work for you to get there. We're going to talk about naturopathic medicine in Idaho. There have been a lot of contentious issues about it. We'll talk about what happened during the pandemic and how people are recovering. And again, back to, we'll talk a little bit about this summit as well. And like I said, we've known Dr. Karlfeldt for years. We ran into him recently. I said, man, going from the back, and I mean, that just never gets old hearing that from the beauty salon where people are getting haircuts and such. And then all of a sudden, here you are doing this. And I guess the term would be easier said than done. And we're going to have Dr. Karlfeldt continue on with us next from the Karlfeldt Center. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And welcome back. Here is our friend, Dr. Karlfeldt. So, Dr. Karlfeldt, tell us a little bit about the conference coming up.
So it is it's online. It's a regenerative medicine summit. So it's a huge summit, probably reach about 100,000 people. I'll be having international experts, talking about regenerative medicine. I have Dr. Ian White, he's one of the leaders in stem cell research and how to use exosomes and stem cells for regeneration. I have Dr. Frank Schallenberger. He is the father of, he's considered almost the father of ozone therapy here in the United States. He's the one that brought prolozone therapy over here from Germany. So I'll be having him on. I'll have Dr. Gerald Polak talking about 4th phase of water and how you can, how the separation of charges in water, how that generates like a battery, so you can actually create energy within water just by itself. I'll be talking about, we have Dr. Joel Furman, about plant-based diet and how you can use that to maximize your health. I'll be having, it's just incredible. There's about 50 plus leaders like that I'll have on my summit. David Schmidt, he is the owner of LifeWave and creator of the LifeWave patches, where you use light technology through patches to stimulate production of stem cells and for regeneration. And so it's really incredible topics, and it's free, and it will launch, it will air between January 10th or January 17th. And for people that are interested, they can just go on the link for it as the Dr. Talks /regenerative-medicine. So Dr. Talks, drtalks.com/regenerative-medicine. It's going to be an incredible event, and yes, it's free. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to reach a huge amount of people, and obviously it will bring a lot of attention again to Idaho. Our presence here and what we do here. So it's just an honor to get to talk to these people and then be part of that community.
Well, Dr. Karlfeldt, let's talk a little bit about naturopathic medicine versus the conventional medicine. It's been politicized for quite some time. So, and you've been on the tip of the spear talking about the vaccine and the medical care. Where are we today when it comes to how we treat ourselves medically, sir?
I think there's a better awareness, and I think that is due to people, like myself and other people that are really wanting to educate the public about safer and effective medicine, like the naturopathic medicine or functional medicine or holistic medicine, integrative, whichever term that you want to use. So I think more and more people are becoming aware, which is really exciting. At the same time, the powers that be, there's so much money behind, pushing things like, we dealt with this COVID pandemic, the last number of years. There's so much money and so much agenda behind that. So it's almost hard to, I would say, it's hard to balance that out. And so people, they tend to believe in stories that are going on CNN, and not recognizing that these stories are based on political agendas. People that have a lot of money. You have just a few networks, that exist here in the United States that owned by very few groups, and they want to get their way, and so that then starts to show in how medical practices and what becomes available medically, and how that impacts us. So it's important for us to take ownership and power over our own lives instead of just trusting whatever is on CNN or late night news, or even what's in the newspapers, and really kind of educate yourself, and that's. I think that is the key. That is what these last number of years have really shown us. Where initially said, well, here, if you take this shot, then you're going to be protected against COVID, and then you realize that, well, your symptoms may be less severe, but then you see all these people that have gotten the shot and they're not doing well physically. So was it less severe, or were you not going to get it, or so the story keeps changing, but I'm sure that they knew from the get-go kind of what was going to take place. So so it's my job is just to educate. My job, I should say that this is my desire to just educate, so that people have the freedom to choose, and if they choose to do certain medical intervention that may not, that they feel is good for them, that is their choice. But it's important that we have the right and the freedom to choose based upon the understanding that we have. And that's my passion. But it's our constitutional right, to be able to choose what goes into our body, and also have the ability to communicate freely about things, the freedom of speech. And that's why mediums like yourself, the radio show that you have is so crucial, and that we don't have the kind of censorship that we've seen so much also the last couple of years.
Dr. Michael Karlfeldt joining us from the Karlfeldt Center, talking about the future of medicine, but so many of us are conditioned that we go to the doctor and we get the drugs. But there's another way, and you're living proof of this. Yes,
it's so the body is an amazing piece of machinery, and it has this incredible innate intelligence within itself, and it is something that not the best quantum computer, whatever AI, that can truly figure out all the complexity that takes place within the body. So the best we can do then is to give that body the environment and also the tools that it needs, so that innate intelligence can function at its optimum, as optimally as it can. And the body is then, there's certain things that the body requires. I mean, obviously it requires nutrition, but it also needs, things like oxygen, needs, light, it needs water. And so we keep forgetting as individuals that, if we are dealing with health conditions, and frequently it is, but that we are not following basic natural laws. And by supporting the body and bring them back, utilizing these natural laws, then the innate intelligence can kick in, and you are then able to more efficiently heal and obtain health, rather than just using a pharmaceutical. And I'm not saying that pharmaceuticals are sometimes not needed. Sometimes they are life-saving, and they are crucial to kind of deal with a fire that's gone out of control. But why not utilizing safer medicine first, and restorative medicine? And that is what naturopathy really does, is that utilizing things that have been around us for ages, like herbs or nutrients that we know support cellular function, like different vitamins, different minerals, or supporting our cell wall membranes. So here maybe we're dealing with diabetes, and we are thinking that, well, do I have an insulin deficiency? I mean, nobody has really an insulin deficiency. What we're dealing with is the transport of glucose into the cells efficiently. So, why is that taking place? Well, maybe we don't have enough of certain nutrients, to be able to support that transport. Like maybe we're low in vanadium, or maybe we're low in chromium or magnesium or zinc, different nutrients that are crucial for that transport. Or maybe we have a cell wall membrane. So you look at cells, they have this membrane around them, and in order for nutrients to be able to get into the cell, it needs to pass through that membrane. So is that membrane healthy? So that these nutrients can get in.
Well, before we get lost in the membranes, more with Dr. Karlfeldt next. We're going to talk about, again, the move within the state to perhaps limit your medical freedom. Also, more on the conference. We've got Terry from State College, Pennsylvania. He has a question for Dr. Karlfeldt as well. Maybe he'll talk about alkylberry or Endenberry or whatever. We appreciate Dr. Karlfeldt joining us. And again, if you have a question on health, KIDO Talk Radio, 580-5436. Beacon Plumbing brings you Fox News. KIDO Talk Radio brings you the world. And we continue on with our conversation with Dr. Michael Karlfeldt of the Karlfeldt Center. Let's go to Terry from State College, Pennsylvania on KIDO Talk Radio. Terry, you have a question for Dr. Karlfeldt?
Yes, I do. I remember back when herbal medicine, I grew up in Appalachia, by the way, where herbal medicine was a $1 million a year business. The following year, it became a $4 million business. After that, $12 million, and it just grew exponential to the point that every store has, an entire shelves just filled with herbal tinctures, what have you. But my question is, there's a lot of fraud out there. There's a doctor of naturopathy, then there's a naturopathic doctor. One is licensed, the other is not. And how do people distinguish who really is properly educated and who isn't?
Yeah, and that has been the issue a lot of times, and that is also ties directly in with what we've been dealing with here in Idaho, and I know in a lot of other states as well. So I look at it with any kind of business, just like a plumber. How do you know that this plumber is good or not? You have, has he's gone to this school, or you have somebody that maybe has done plumbing for 30 years, and which one, that's fresh out of school, or the one that's been doing it for 30 years, which one is good and which one is not. So in business, it's when you have an open economy, it tends to self-regulate, and the people, the community will then support and also go to people that actually achieve results and are able to improve people's situations. It's kind of like in my situation, if I did not produce results, my business wouldn't grow. And then maybe, yes, I would have a patient here and there, but at the end of the day, it would not be able to be sustainable, and I would, focus on trying to have another profession. So you have to, as a consumer, you just, like with anything, you have to do your due diligence and then have recommendations on this individual. You know, is this individual able to do what it is that I'm wanting to achieve? And I think that is the biggest thing. So you've had a group then of naturopathic doctors that are educated here in the United States. I think there are 5 different naturopathic schools here in the United States, and they want to make sure that only the ones that are educated from their schools are the ones that are eligible for licensing, and that has been the challenge, you know, for many, many years, because there's so many great naturopathic doctors that, you know, like myself, I was originally trained in Sweden and then studied, you know, with a naturopath, one of the leading naturopathic doctors, you know, in Sweden for about 7 years. You know, so that was my initial training in addition to the schooling that I did, but I did not graduate from one of these, you know, 5 schools because they really weren't in existence at that time. So, you know, do someone like myself then, am I less able to help another individual that is requiring the naturopathic care versus, you know, somebody that is graduated from these specific schools? Well, at the end of the day, do I achieve results or not? You know, do people get better or not? And I think that becomes the biggest thing that we need to look at, and then also compare then the amount of education that one individual that did not come from these specific schools there in the United States, and compare their training and see if it is something that is comparable. And then if it is, then also allow them to have a licensure if that is what they're seeking. And that is actually what we have been able to achieve here in Idaho, and we're soon to be able to have that, so that naturopathic doctors that have equal training are then able to achieve licensing. So I hope that answered your question. It's a little bit long-winded, but it's been something that has been a struggle, you know, for the 20 years that I've been here in Idaho. So that's why I'm quite passionate about it.
No, thank you. And I think people need to understand who they're sitting with. It's very important that the person that they are trusting their health to, you know, somebody that's been properly educated and has the experience to, you know, help their body heal and bring them through it. But
now, before you go, what is this elderberry? What is that you always tout, Terry?
Well,
elderberry, yes.
The elderberry. During the Spanish flu, they found the people that weren't getting sick as often were those that were drinking a lot of elderberry wine. So it got a lot of really close attention. Elderberry typically just suffocates a virus. It can't breathe.
No,
you know,
I'm not asking you for your opinion on it. I'm asking Dr. Karlfeldt.
Okay.
Well, I was fascinated to hear your story, what you were saying.
Oh, yeah. Terry could go on and on about it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the beauty, and yeah, elderberry is just one example. I mean, you have elderberry, you got anionberry, you got cranberry, you got blueberry, you got blackberry. I mean, you got all these different things. And so it's just an example of natural agents that contain a lot of phytonutrients that are antiviral. They boost the immune system. They've done studies how they shut down a bunch of cancer drivers, and elderberry is just one of those, you know, that you can use to really, if you're dealing with a viral infection or your immune system needs to be boosted, elderberry is just fantastic. I mean, it's been used for pain relief, for swelling, for inflammation. So it's really an incredible medicine. And that's the thing, is that these things, these different berries, these herbs, they have evolved over time around all these pathogens that we are exposed to. So they have naturally developed then defense mechanisms, to deal with what is in our environment. And so when we ingest them, we then ingest that intelligence, and we ingest that defense mechanism that we benefit from. So that's the beauty of all these natural agents, like elderberry.
Exactly. Terry, thank you for the call. We appreciate you and the talks on elderberry. Dr. Karlfeldt, when we take a look at where we are in the state of Idaho when it comes to medicine, where would you say we are? And again, you were on the front lines concerning the COVID shutdowns and everything else, and you took a big risk. So, as you talk to people and you listen, where do you think we are? A lot of folks on this station, and I'm sure you've heard from others as well, they now have a distrust of really any type of medicine.
And I think that's really sad how traditional or regular medicine. I'm not sure if I want to call it regular, because obviously the holistic medicine has been around way longer than our traditional medicine that they call it when you go to hospitals and so forth. So I think it's just sad that they didn't take. It was such a great opportunity to support people during the crisis that when we were dealing with the COVID crisis, but they took the stance instead of. The hospitals did not let people come in, or they turned people away, because they didn't have enough symptoms to warrant the intensive care that they were offering. So people would then frequently, they were told, but please don't come back until your lips are blue. And then you have the other side, like I started then to educate. I had every day I was doing a Facebook Live, talking about how to boost your immune system. And I wanted just people to feel hope and kind of guide them through this scary time, and talking about vitamin D, how important that is for immune system. And so as a response to that, then FTCC was coming after me, threatening, if you don't take these videos down, we're going to slap a $40,000 fine for every one of these videos. So you were not allowed then to communicate about preventative care and tools that are available that were safe and supportive that people could utilize, prior to going to the hospital. And some people, when they were, during the height of the pandemic, you had people then being isolated and dying at the hospital, and family were not allowed to be in the vicinity. And so it became a very kind of totalitarian type of organization, how the hospitals were operating. And that really set a bad taste in people's mouths, and they're really nervous then to go to a location where they feel that their freedoms are taken away, and which is sad, because sometimes they do need to go there. And I think a lot of people may have actually lost their lives because they did not take that opportunity to address something before they needed to, and before it became something really extreme, and then they ended up being at the hospital too late. So I'm hoping that trust can be reestablished again, and also where we can then work together, both doctors like myself and then traditional medicine, and so that people can then utilize the best of both worlds to maximize their care and maximize their health.
Dr. Karlfeldt, the Karlfeldt Center, your website, and if people want to get a hold of you or take part in your online event. It's been a while. It's good to have seen you the past few weeks, and we appreciate you joining us. What can people do to learn more, sir?
So the best, and I have a huge amount of resources on my website, and in fact, all the interviews that I did on your radio station is available on my website. So you can go to thekarlfeldtcenter.com, and Karlfeldt is spelled Karl, F as in Frank, EL, D as in David, T as in Tom. So thekarlfeldtcenter.com. You can also call us here at the center if you have any questions or would like to schedule an appointment at 208-338-8902. And what I'm really excited about is like we mentioned, this event that's taking place next week for between the 10th and the 17th, where we have 50 leading doctors, world leading doctors, where you get to hear about everything in regards to regenerative medicine. And you can tune into that for free at DR Talks, so Dr. Talks, drtalks.com/regenerative-medicine. And you can just sign up there and then listen to these amazing doctors, talking about what you can do to regain power in your own health, to achieve optimum health and not have to deal with all this diabetes and inflammation and cancer so it's really cool information.
Dr. Karlfeldt, we'll see you on the trail. Good luck to you, sir, and very inspiring story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Always my pleasure to hang with you.
Well, we're always looking for fill-in hosts. I think you've done a good job. Maybe we'll get you in to fill in when I'm on vacation.
Yeah, your job is hard. I can talk about health all day long, but what you're doing, that's one step up.
Well, we appreciate you, sir. You have a great day.
You as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Our great friend, Dr. Karlfeldt.